question kind of is, I did, I was talking to Harold,
Yeah.
and like this fear came up, like very, but not just fear, it was also like a lot of energy, and it seemed to be around control.
Mm.
And it was nauseating, like it was really nauseating actually. Um, and I remember internally being like, let's just close that Pandora's box right now, because like this is like too much. But
Yeah.
um, I sort of now, so I'm gonna make a story out of it now, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, go for it.
So it seems like, after that like sort of opening and those energies arising and me being like, oh, I can't deal with this. Like my things seem to get a little darker. Like my mood seemed to get more somber. I got like a little depressed. And I wonder if that's correlated or if I was just believing in a story and then that was happening. But really, what I want to look at is like how that control is working and like how that's making me unhappy
Mm.
and like ultimately how to let go of that. But
Yeah.
that's not in my control.
Yeah, it's not in your control. Yeah, the and this is what happens to us. So at a young age, like so we identify at like maybe 3 or 4, it's an energetic thing, which is most probably genetically passed down. And then what happens to us is when we begin to become self-conscious. So do you remember as a child, like for me, I remember my parents used to put me on the reins. Um, like they used to
Like
like
just
put
tell you,
reins, yeah, around my wrists, like and put a lead on me, like
like actually, or you mean
yeah. It's
metaphor?
quite no, they did. They put the reins on me. We call them reins in England. Like I can't think of another lead. Maybe you could call it. Yeah, and they do. This is quite common with children. You see it sometimes, like with children that are like really hyper when you're walking along. They have like something tied to their arm or to their backpack or something, so you can keep hold of them.
Okay.
When they used to do this, I used to throw myself down on the floor and have a tantrum. Like, and I remember I would like be rolling around the floor, like a, or like I was almost being sizzled in a frying pan, like ah! And screaming and crying, and I didn't care who I did it in front of. I just did it, and didn't, and yeah, I don't remember how often I used to tantrum, but I remember that I used to tantrum about when they put the leads on me. And we didn't have self-consciousness about it at the time. It was just that like at that time, even though there was identification, most probably there's still not a self-consciousness that's aware that other people are looking at us. So therefore, like our emotions are just wild and free. And
Yeah.
then as we begin to get older, we begin to be taught to rein them in, which is appropriate. It's appropriate that we learn how to deal with our emotions and how to control our emotions. Um,
It can be
uh,
dangerous.
if you don't learn how to control them.
Well, no, if you just like stuff it all, hold it all in.
Yeah. And then another thing happens to us where we we don't learn to deal with them in a functional way, which I think happens to most people. So we're not in a place where we can express our feelings and our thoughts to people. And we're very young, so we've not got very big intelligence yet to be able to be to to reflect on these things.
Yeah.
So we get taught by our parents and by schooling that we have to be a particular way and that we can't express certain emotions. So what happens in our system is we begin to narrate a story of who we are, and then we begin to deny anything that doesn't match that story.
Yeah.
And this is where it begins to become dangerous, because we tell this story so often and so many times it really feels real, and we don't know the difference between what's happening and that story. So it feels like that story and what's happening are one and the same thing. And it becomes so powerful that we can be really angry with someone, and in our thoughts world, we can be telling them that we're having a great time and that we love them. And we kind of believe that, but deep down, like, you're really angry with that person and you really hate them. So this is what humans can do. I always say we because I don't want to say like you and be accusatory. So I try to say we as an inclusivity.
It's probably just like that anger with like another person, like, oh, I want to kill this person or something, you know, that can be happening at the same time that you're trying to act sociable. Like I could see that.
Yeah, but sometimes it can even happen where, and this happens a lot in people, where the story is so strong that they don't even know that they're having thoughts and feelings of wanting to kill the other person. So a good example of that is passive aggression.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's really not conscious. And if you ask the person, they really think they're being nice. If you were to begin to speak with them and get them to look into their body, then they might begin to feel that they're not comfortable and that they're unhappy. But most of the time the body has been shut out of experiencing, and so the story becomes really strong.
Yeah.
And the unconscious is so deep. So deep.
I mean, I could see it. I could feel it in myself sometimes. Like I know maybe ultimately it doesn't have anything to do with somebody else, but I can walk down the street and I can feel like this aggression come up towards a stranger because I'll feel unsafe or something, and some part of me will just like want to like attack that person.
Yeah, and that's really quite deep. That realization. Like, so most people in society don't realize that. They're not even conscious that they're getting angry with people. They're only conscious they're getting angry with people when the people say bump into them, and then their response is, you motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. And then they know they're angry. But prior to that, they didn't really realize anger was building in them. So that's really amazing.
Like, so I have it with a lot of people, so I can, it doesn't, you know, if somebody looks like even a little bit threatening, I'll be like, oh yeah, I feel defensive now, and I would attack this person if I if like, yeah, some conceited form of self-defense or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if, yeah, I wonder if I do sometimes wonder like if that's normal, because you know, if people pass each other in the street all the time and have these maybe unconscious or not, but like these notions happening constantly.
I think that everybody's story is different. So you'll get some people that are walking along and they're very paranoid about what other people are thinking about them, but they don't necessarily feel anger. So yours is quick to like attack the other person internally. Some people can feel very guilty and very ashamed, and they don't like to go outside the house. Some people can deal with it by being obsessively concerned about the way they look and the way they appear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think all those things I kind of do. But then I can also see, like, I've been doing this delivery job, and like I bike around, and sometimes I can completely switch. Like it seems like I switch gears like completely. Like suddenly I'll feel, you know, I'll feel like I've switched realities and be like, I forgive everyone, and like
Yeah.
everything's beautiful, and then suddenly none of that is real
And that
anymore.
and I think that's to do with the seeking energy. So when you begin to open up, so when you become less attached to the person, then the person relaxes and these dynamics relax, and then you feel more safe because you're more at home, and then
Yeah.
these dynamics relax to an extent. And then when they're really real, it's when you're really energetically contracted to the body. It doesn't mean that when you feel really relaxed that your defenses won't be naturally to go back to aggression, but I would assume that's involving the seeking energy. Like when you feel more at home in terms of consciousness in this moment, then there is less defensiveness in you. Even though your personality structure might always, for the rest of its life, even if it's free for the rest of its life, have a tendency towards defense, Like when you feel more secure and more at home in consciousness, then there is less defensiveness acting out through your body. When you feel like when there's more seeking energy and you feel more detached from consciousness and more identified with the person, then there's more intense defensiveness. This can either be triggered internally or externally. It can be because there's less threatening people around you, or it can be internally because there's more expansion.
Yeah, it seems like it's all it seems like it's sometimes accessible internally,
Mm,
and also like, the use of music or like listening to chants or something like this.
mm,
And there is then seeking that goes on around this as well, because then as soon as that like falls away, then I go and seek for that state again, or seek to recreate that experience.
yeah,
Um, but regardless, like this, yeah, um, I don't know what the exact nature of it is, but it seems to revolve around this like this sense of control, and it's probably a
mm,
sense of leadership as well.
yeah. And the control and the doership is found in the solar plexus. So this is the energy area which needs work, and
Yeah,
that
and
and
this
that's also contains depression, like frustration and anger. So this
mm,
sense, so when it's in its negative, it can be rageful, angry, frustrated, and it can also be depressed, like this is hopeless, this is pointless, I want to kill myself. So it can be all of that. And when it's in its positive, it feels more like an ease with life, like you can do it, you can achieve, you can complete whatever you need to complete. It feels energized.
so, so it's back to basically do. I've been doing some of this chakra breathing,
Yeah,
chakra breathing,
yeah,
which I can really feel can make a difference.
yeah. It is really intense stuff, though. This is like energy of your family that's coming up. You know, it's your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your great grandparents. Like this is their behaviors were passed on to you genetically and then socially, because the way your grandparents raised your mum will have had an effect on the way your mum raised you, and the way your great grandparents raised your grandparents will have an effect on them, then your mum, then you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's, and then you could take it out to the broader aspect and say that you're releasing the karma of humanity, because they ultimately come from humanity. And then if you go even further back, you could say really you're releasing the karma of life. So it's like a really big task that you undertake, and it's just being really gentle with yourself.
yeah. I think it's if I'm honest, like I don't really know what I'm doing, so it feels like, I just it kind of feels overwhelming, because it seems like I can't really I don't really understand what's happening energetically a lot of the time, so I don't know if it's coming from where it's
Yeah,
coming from exactly, what, you know,
but that would be a very controlling response,
yeah, and then trying to
because
fix.
rather than going with the flow and trusting that life is taking care of it,
Yeah,
you feel like you need to be in control of it, and then it feels chaotic. So
yeah,
it's just seeing that these thoughts, these patterns and these beliefs affect everything that's happening. So everything that you think when you feel contracted will be more than likely in that vein. So what's coming up and what can be seen is that the controlling energy is coming up again. I feel out of control. I don't know how to do this. That's very solar plexus speaking. And then also, so noticing and feeling that, but then noticing that that's appearing in stillness.
yeah. There was like a little bit of and this is then again the controlling energy. Like there was a frustration with, like, I was talking to Harold and this came up, and I was like, well, this seems like the opportunity then to like open to it and release it, or and then like the story went like, oh, it was too intense, I couldn't release it or whatever. So
Mm,
um Yeah, and then I beat myself up about that. So
Yeah, yeah. And again, that's controlling ideas, like that you are the doer and that it was your job to do it. So just noticing these ideas and just noticing that they're not true. What is true, who you truly are, is this emptiness now looking through. And they're trying their best to stay identified with the person, for the person to believe that that's who you are, not because they're bad or anything, it's just that that's the way they function. That's the energy of them.
yeah, yeah, I guess. But even yeah, but I can see how the whole like little fight I'm having with myself is just kind of it's the same game. It's the same controlling game.
Yeah.
So what it really comes down to is like kind of what you're saying also is just having this trust in life,
Mm.
or like how it unfolds naturally.
Mm.
Like that um yeah, and if I ask how to do that more, then that's trying to do.
Yeah, it's happening. Like doing all these practices,
Yeah,
speaking with people about it.
yeah. All right. Thank you, Lisa.
With pleasure. It's always lovely to speak with you,
Shit.
Brian.
Silence also. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
lots of
Thank you.
love.
Much love. Thank you.
Bye.